AskReddit by Internet. What is the biggest mistake you did not make as a teenager? I never joined a street gang. I was in the rare percentage of kids from my neighborhood. Good for you. I used to tutor in juvenile detention and met a lot of kids who'd made that mistake. Despite drinking a lot, I did not drink and drive. Me too, lost a dear friend to drinking and driving. Heroin. One night in college we couldn't find weed, but my buddies scored some meth, I guess from a bar earlier in the evening. Had never done it. I had a lighter in my hand and the glass to my lips and was starting to cook it. I stopped and said, "This is a bad idea." Set it down and left. One of them is dead now and the other in prison. Granted, I'm a recovering alcoholic myself, so I'm not judging, just saying it may have been the best decision I ever made not to inhale. Getting angry and chasing a crowd of people with a wheelbarrow. That sounds like exactly what someone who got angry and chased a crowd of people with a wheelbarrow would say. Sending nudes. Found out the boys in our school had a shared email. They all had the password to where they passed around all of the nudes they got. Found out two of the guys I talked to who asked me for them were a part of that group. So glad I never took nudes or sent them. Girl at a nearby HS sent a video of herself to her boyfriend. This was when recording and sharing videos by phone was relatively new. They broke up shortly after and, of course, he shared it with other people. Parents complained she shouldn't be captain of cheerleading squad anymore. Story made the newspaper. I don't know how it all played out, but I'm sure it was a nightmare for her dealing with all that. Add or subtract from population. Good for you, murdering one person for every child you had. Like me, be in the banana stand. Didn't get a girl pregnant. Pretty easy to do at an all-boys school. Okay, but how many boys did you get pregnant? I never dated anyone from my school. Only girls from Canada. You wouldn't know them, of course. Her name is Alberta. She lives in Vancouver. Sending dick pics. Real mistake. I'm the first woman in my family to beat teen pregnancy. I'm the only one of 4 sisters who made it to 19. Well, technically, 49 for a few more days, without popping out a kid. My oldest sister had one at 13 or 14. My younger sister miscarried one, then had her first on her 19th birthday. Have kids, catch STDs, join gangs, get arrested, become a drug addict, drop out. I think teenagers are so quick to do adult things that they don't realize that adult things are some if not all of the worst things in life. Get any girl pregnant. My mom gave me the sex talk. If I got any girl pregnant, she would kick me so hard in the thing I used to get the girl pregnant with, I would never be able to use it again. I believed her. My grandmother gave my brothers a speech about how there will be women who try to get close to you, but you must think of your futures. Imagine if you are saddled with a family as a teenager. This was when they were in their early teens. A couple years later they were teasing her like, "Grandma, where are all these women trying to get close to us exactly?" Getting pregnant. I'm a guy but I still didn't do it. Good job. Drugs. I thank my aunt for that. She popped pills like they were candy. My grandma was going to pick her up one morning. There was no answer at the door, so she went on in. She was sitting on the love seat leaning down and my grandma thought she was just high and nodding off. She was cold and stiff and had been gone all night. My granny had a heart attack and could have passed as well. I'll never put my family through that. I know the truth about drugs. If you don't get help, you won't survive. It's a medical certainty. Thank you. Some think of 1 or 2 at a time won't do nothing to make the pain go away and gives me a little floaty feeling, nothing more. I like you had family members who were not only great teachers because they were radicals and showed me and my brother how we didn't want to live our lives. They were addicts for years, one even got sober for 10-11 years, was doing great, had a great job, bought a house, but then her albatross got out of jail and started his shit of why do you need to go to meetings? Why can't you have a cocktail after work with me? 10 years flew right out that window. Within 2-4 years of her abusing drugs, her grandson found her OD'd on the pallet floor. He had to call 911 on her to save her, which he did that time, but no one could save her from herself or the drugs, and they did end up killing her. I didn't go to parties until I graduated high school, and I limited how often I'd drink. I turned down drugs like cocaine because I didn't want to find out if I enjoyed such an expensive habit. I'd often disappoint my friends when I didn't want to get fucked up with them, but they didn't see the effect my father's alcoholism had on my youth. My real boys had my back to tell the rest to fuck off when I wasn't going to drink. Decades later, I rarely drink, and the only addiction I had was World of Warcraft through vanilla TBC. What LK? Still addicted to WoW. It's an impossible habit to break. Congrats on being headstrong and keeping to your morals. Not everyone can say that nowadays. Never did drugs, failed a class, or got a girl pregnant. Also, when we learned in health class how important water is, I started drinking it a ton. I still do, to this day. Getting pregnant. My family refused to ever talk about sex, but luckily my dad let a few issues of YM magazine slip in through the mail without catching all the risque material they had about safe sex and what have you. I was terrified of getting pregnant as a teenager and have known my entire life that I didn't want to have kids, so I was very socially awkward and refused to have sex until I had a serious boyfriend, despite guys being interested in me in high school. I got on birth control and didn't lose my virginity until I was 19 with my college boyfriend, and we used condoms religiously. I'm so grateful I had the good sense to find ways to educate myself on such things, mostly pre-internet. Never smoked or dropped out of high school. 5 of my best friends did both. I stuck it out. No idea how those other guys are doing. Look at this dude humble bragging about not just having a best friend, but having at least 5 of them at that. Lame. But playing football past freshman year. Every now and then, I still get dizzy spells from an undiagnosed concussion from that year. Who knows what would have happened if I continued. My kids will not be playing football. I used to play Pop Warner and stopped once kids started cutting weight, or parents started falsifying ages on applications, so that their little angel could be put in a smaller sized younger group and more other kids. We're talking like 5-year-olds. My mom pulled me out so quickly, and years later I got a college scholarship with tennis. Haha. After fucking up my sophomore year in high school, cutting all my classes, ending my first semester with 0 credits accumulated and a sub 1.5 GPA, instead of giving up and going down the self-destructive path I was on, I recommitted myself to academics, passed all my second semester sophomore classes with a combination of A's, B's, and C's before kicking ass my junior and senior years with a bunch of APs, and coupled with a high SAT, made it into a pretty good university. This was freshman year for me. Didn't fail any classes but was listless and just generally unmotivated. Not sure what the fuck happened, but a light switch came on and I decided to just try. Ended up making straight A's my entire sophomore year. I loaded up on advanced classes junior and senior years, focusing heavily on math and science. To this day I'm not sure what happened. I just felt like academically challenging myself spontaneously. Maybe my sophomore classes were more interesting or something. Dropping out of school, smoking, drinking, drugs, sex. I was a saint compared to some of my peers, lol. Same. Felt lonely sometimes. I didn't impregnate anyone, probably largely due to lack of opportunity. I was a socially awkward nerdy kid. I didn't drive drunk, or even really try drinking until I got to college. I didn't experiment with get addicted to hard drugs, did a fair bit of pot in my early 20s though. The funny thing is I was into punk industrial goth music, dressed the part, and was kind of a loner except for a few friends, so everyone just assumed I did all those things anyway. I look back, and I'm glad I was genuine. So many of my classmates were so eager to fit in with others that never tried to find approval from within and learn who they were as a person. I'm confident in who I am now, and I like me. No young ladies were impregnated with my sperm. You used other people's sperm so it couldn't be traced back to you. Very smart. Using a vape. E-cigarettes were just getting popular as a drug in their own right instead of just a tool to quit smoking when I was in senior year, and at the time were still regarded as safe and non-habit forming by many. By the time I finished college, gel was practically ubiquitous among people my age. I didn't use vapes because the thought of inhaling smoke of any kind makes my skin crawl a little and it's expensive. Now we know vaping can in fact cause lung problems and my old classmates are just as addicted as they would be to any other drug. This 23M here. Vaping is such an expensive habit. I've quit once and only lasted a month. It's so hard to quit. I've spent thousands and thousands on vapes. I probably could have paid a year's worth of tuition by now. Didn't go to jail. Yep, it's a big mistake. Jail is always fun. My good Catholic mother said I would rather you didn't have sex before marriage, but if you do, come to me and I will take you to Planned Parenthood. No hassle. I did. She did. No babies before marriage. Thanks, Mom. That's a nice mother and pretty good parenting style. No enforcing of ideas and giving clear information and telling your kids that you support them. I made sure to get out when I said I would. Growing up I did a lot of petty crime for money. I sold pot to help pay for my college tuition and groceries and eventually sold some harder stuff. For a while I stole car parts and things to sell for extra cash. Eventually I got to a point where I realized I could make more money from some credit card fraud than by working. I distinctly remember being 19 and being drunk and strung out at a party and being unhappy. I had enough money to equate to decent living for a 19-year-old if I kept doing what I was doing and started to feel like finishing school would be too much work. Somewhere along the way I set up a small business selling posters to college students since the prints were only $1. Perk of being an art major, for full glossy poster sized prints. I sold them for $10 in person and got my roommates to do the same, cutting them in for a portion of the profits their posters made since I was the one that was generating the foot traffic to sell them. I didn't make much, but it was a moment where I realized I was making money off my art. Doing stupid illegal things may have paid more, but there was no price I could put on the peace of mind of not looking over my shoulder. Eventually I stopped everything that wasn't on the up and up. I used the money I made to help during that transitionary period. I'm currently a teen and I have bad anxiety and I know I'll regret not going out when I'm older. I mean maybe, but if it helps at all, it is way more fun doing all the things you imagine when you are slightly older and actually have money to have a little fun. The going out is super glamorized, but if you're stuck with nothing but a tenner and your phone in your pocket while stressing about it all night, going out kinda sucks. Best nights have always been around my friends and laughing anyways. Don't expect you to not go out and make your own mistakes. Just remember this when you do have. Being more sociable. I'm 25 now and I have no fucking idea how to make friends. Side steps over to you. Nods and smiles from where I'm standing next to you. Click. I have handcuffed us together. Your eyes widen and I grin. Wanna go get tacos? We are now friends.